Emma stood on the sidewalk with nothing but a small suitcase and eyes full of disbelief. 10 minutes ago, her husband slammed the door behind her, shouting the words that cut deeper than any wound. "You're useless to me if you can't give me a child." She wiped her tears with trembling fingers. She had spent years nurturing his dreams, standing beside him in sickness and health, yet a medical diagnosis had turned her into a burden in his eyes. But fate rarely whispers before it changes everything. Sometimes it speaks through the hum of an expensive car that stops beside you. The window rolled down, and a little boy with messy curls peeked out first, eyes full of curiosity. Then the man in the driver's seat leaned forward, tall, composed, with a quiet strength in his face. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. Emma nodded, though her voice betrayed her. "Yes. I just need a moment." The man stepped out. "I'm Daniel Hayes," he said. "My son and I saw you crying. Do you need help?" Before she could answer, the little boy tugged his father's sleeve. "Daddy, she looks like she needs a home." Emma blinked in surprise. Daniel looked at her for a long moment, seeing something she had forgotten existed, worth. "My house isn't far," he said softly. "Come with me. Just for tonight. No expectations." Emma hesitated. But when the cold wind hit her back, she realized this wasn't pity. It was the first act of kindness she'd felt in years. And she whispered, "Okay." Emma followed Daniel and his little boy, Liam, into a warm, softly lit home that felt nothing like the cold house she had just been thrown out of. The scent of cinnamon and fresh bread drifted from the kitchen, and toys were scattered across the living room like tiny footprints of joy. Liam ran ahead, grabbing a blanket. "Here," he said proudly, placing it around her shoulders. Emma froze. When was the last time someone had offered her warmth simply because they cared? Daniel watched her quietly, his expression gentle. "You don't have to tell me anything," he said as he handed her a cup of tea. "Just breathe." But tears spilled anyway. "My husband said I'm worthless because I can't have children," she whispered. I tried so hard." Daniel's jaw tightened, not in judgment, but in something protective. "Infertility doesn't make you worthless," he said firmly. "It only makes small people reveal who they truly are." Emma looked up, startled by the conviction in his voice. He sat down across from her. "My wife died 3 years ago," he said quietly. "People like to think single parents are strong, but sometimes we're just trying not to fall apart in front of our kids." Liam peeked from behind the couch. "Daddy cries in the laundry room," he announced innocently. Daniel laughed, embarrassed, and Emma felt the tiniest spark of warmth flicker inside her chest. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like someone broken. She felt human. Seen. Later that night, as she stared at the guest room ceiling, Emma realized something surprising. She wasn't afraid of tomorrow anymore. Maybe kindness, unexpected, undeserved, was the beginning of something new. Something healing. Something that might change her life. The next morning, Emma awoke to the gentle sound of Liam humming in the kitchen. Sunlight spilled across the room, turning dust particles into golden specks that danced in the air. For the first time in months, she felt a quiet peace. Daniel was already in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. "I hope you like pancakes," he said, smiling. "Liam insists on adding extra chocolate chips." Emma chuckled softly. She hadn't laughed like this in years. The bitterness of yesterday seemed to fade, replaced by a fragile, surprising hope. As they ate, Liam chattered about school and superheroes, occasionally glancing at Emma as if gauging whether she belonged. Daniel watched her from across the table, the lines of his face softening whenever she smiled. Later, Daniel cleared the table and turned to her. "Emma, I don't usually do this," he said cautiously, "but I think you're extraordinary. You've endured so much, yet you still carry yourself with dignity." Emma's heart tightened. She wanted to believe him, but years of rejection had taught her to doubt compliments, to distrust kindness. I don't know what to say," she murmured. "Then don't say anything," Daniel replied. "Just know this, You've changed our lives already. Sometimes the people who least expect it bring the most light." Emma felt tears prick her eyes, but this time they weren't bitter. They were soft, warm, and strangely freeing. That evening, Liam tugged at her sleeve. "Will you stay for dinner tomorrow?" he asked, hopeful. Emma looked at Daniel, whose quiet nod reassured her. And for the first time in years, she believed in the possibility of a future, not defined by her past, not measured by pain, but by compassion, love, and the courage to accept it. In that simple, unassuming house, Emma realized something profound. Sometimes, being broken is not the end. It is the doorway to a life richer than she ever imagined. Over the next few days, Emma settled into a rhythm she hadn't known she missed. She helped Liam with homework, cooked meals with Daniel, and even laughed at silly cartoons she hadn't watched since childhood. Each small moment stitched together a sense of belonging she had thought lost forever. One afternoon, Daniel returned from work early, carrying a small bouquet of flowers. "For you," he said softly, handing them to her. "No reason, except that you brighten our days." Emma hesitated, then accepted them. The fragrance was delicate yet powerful, like hope itself. That evening, while Liam played outside, Daniel spoke in his office, his voice lower, earnest. "Emma, I want you to know something important. I see the sacrifices you've made in life. You've loved, given, and endured more than most people ever will. And still you shine." Emma felt a lump in her throat. "Daniel, you don't even know me." "I know enough," he said firmly. "I know that kindness, courage, and heart are rarer than wealth or status. And you have all three." Emma's mind flashed to the memory of her husband's cruel words. The contrast was so stark that her chest ached. Here was someone who saw value, someone who believed in her without condition. Later, as she tucked Liam into bed, the boy looked up at her with earnest eyes. "Emma, you're my favorite person now." Her heart swelled. She realized that in giving her care, her presence, she had received something far greater: acceptance, gratitude, and the simple joy of being needed. That night, she lay awake, thinking. Life had thrown her into darkness, but in the kindness of strangers, she had discovered light. Not the flashy, temporary kind, but the enduring, quiet kind, the kind that heals, restores, and transforms. And for the first time, Emma allowed herself to imagine a future filled with hope, love, and the possibility that she might belong somewhere, truly, finally, home. Weeks passed, and Emma began to feel a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced in years. She helped Liam with school projects, organized meals, and even started volunteering at a nearby shelter. The act of giving back reminded her that life could be meaningful, even after pain. One evening, as Daniel returned from work, he looked at her with a seriousness that made her pause. "Emma, there's something I need to ask," he said, voice steady but tender. She braced herself. Was this another test? Another judgment? "I want you to join me, not because you owe me, not because of anything in your past, but because I see the person you are. Would you consider staying with us, for good?" Emma's heart raced. The thought of trust, of belonging, had felt impossible. Yet here it was, offered without pretense, without expectation. Tears blurred her vision. I would like that," she whispered. Liam jumped up, cheering, and ran to hug her. "Yes! We're a family!" The next days were filled with simple joys, breakfast laughter, evening walks, and quiet moments where they shared stories, hopes, and fears. Emma realized that life's cruel twists had not defined her. They had prepared her to recognize genuine kindness when it appeared. One afternoon, as she watched Daniel and Liam play in the yard, Emma felt a deep, unshakable gratitude. She had been cast aside, told she was unworthy, yet through compassion and selflessness, she had discovered something she never imagined, a place where love was given freely, where her presence mattered, and where her heart could heal. Standing at the doorway, she breathed in the warm, golden light, and whispered softly, not just to the house, but to life itself. Sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest beginnings. And in that moment Emma knew, with absolute certainty, that hope, kindness, and humanity could turn even the deepest wounds into a story of redemption and love.